Naked Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. All right. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Iggy Garcia Live. I'm going to send the link here in a second where you guys can tune in. There won't be any password. You just come right in and shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so let me see. Let me go here. I'll send the link in. Apologize, got a little bit congested today. So this is the link I just sent you guys. All you have to do is punch in. Those of you who want to be part of the town hall tonight and want to share, just come on in through there. I do believe there is maybe a phone number. Well, I don't have a phone number set up, so you're just gonna have to come on through the air, through the show. So give me a second here. We're all lined up. So today our show is town hall. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the events, the current events of the day, current events of the week, current events of the month, current events of whatever you want to talk about. This is your show. This is your night. The only thing I ask is everybody be mindful and respectful of one another. If it gets heated and it gets kind of weird, I'm going to bounce people out. So have a little candor and a little respect for one another. I know that the issues that we may be talking about may be charged. Pardon me, folks. So the issues that we're talking about are going to have some charge to them. We're going to be hitting some topics that are not comfortable and that are not. I don't know. I mean, everybody has an opinion about what they feel, what's going on in the world today, and I'm going to try to listen and try to be, focused on what you're saying and try to answer your questions if that's what you want me to do, the best I can. I know that it's not easy right now. There's a lot happening in the world, and so I'm going to send the link one more time. That way, those of you who want to join the show, all you got to do is click this. This is a Zoom app, so if you don't have Zoom, you're going to have to download it, okay? And so basically you'll come on the air with me, Zoom, and it just comes through the Zoom app and back into Facebook. So we're about on a 20-second delay for those of you who are wondering how this all works. So man, I don't know. I apologize. I sprayed something real quick and then all of a sudden just got kind of out of my lungs a little bit. So a lot has happened in the last week that we've been together, and we had Chief Claude Pyler on, and we talked about COVID, and we talked about immune modulation and how we can take care of ourselves. Today we're going to talk about what you want to talk about, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's been happening here nationally. But before we start that, we're going to light a candle in honor of our ancestors, but we're also going to light this candle of those who have been justly wronged, those who have been, killed, those who, things didn't work out the way they needed to do. And so we're going to light this candle and take a moment of silence and remember the family, Floyd George and his family, and those families with similar situations and things that have happened. So we're going to honor that, respect one another. We're going to ask the ancestor to guide us during this time to be able to say what's on our heart, but say in a way that it's very understanding versus through anger. My little stage here. Those of you who are waiting to come online, I'll bring you on here in a second, so don't hang up. A little cleansing, a little clearing. All right, so let's see, someone's popping in here, so we're gonna let them on and see who this is. Not sure who it is. Hey, it's Krista. Howdy, howdy. Let's see, I'm gonna unmute you here in a second, so hold tight. So what I want to do is I want to do a little drumming here with my drum. I'm gonna do a little chant, a heartfelt thing that my drum kind of called me to do. So I'm gonna do that and share that with everybody. So again, be patient with me today because we're trying to get more people on the show. This is your show tonight. This is Town Hall with Iggy Garcia Live. I'm Iggy Garcia. I'm with InsightsRadio.com network. So as you join, we'll bring you in. Please participate, because this is how we grow, and this is how we become stronger as a community. This is how we become stronger as a nation. This is how we become stronger as a people. This is how we become stronger as a human race, as a group of people trying to figure it out. Like I always say, when this planet blows up, it doesn't matter. In the end, it's like, hey, I don't care if you were this or that, we're all gone. While we're here, we have to figure out some strategies to get along and work together and navigate the waters together, because it's so easy to get stuck in our little worlds and stuck in our little thoughts and get stuck in the beliefs that we create for ourselves and the beliefs and stuff that are created for us. And so we systematically can make things better or systematically make things worse. So it's really up to what direction humanity wants to go. So I'm going to drum a little bit here. I'm going to drum my drum. My shaman drum. I call this the Condor Eagle drum. So. Pase un pas, dos pases, tres pas, oh, oh. Caminamos juntos, estamos juntos, oh, oh, hey, hey, hi, 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 my, hey, oh. Un paso, dos pasos, tres pasos, oh, oh, oh. Danos paz, danos paz, danos paz, yeah, oh. paso dos, pasos tres, pasos aho. Amor, un paso, dos pasos, tres pasos aho. One step, two step, three steps, we walk together. Aho. That's what I was singing. So here we go. I'm going to be clearing my throat throughout the night, so I do apologize if I get kind of stuck and a little stuffy. I'm going to start on muting everybody here, and I just ask that you just, if you want to talk, to raise your hands, and we'll pass the feather. Let's see. Chris is connecting, and then Chris is connecting. And let's see who else is coming on. I'm going to pass the... Boop. There it is. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. Krista, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I got to close up the house, so you guys are going to hear traffic all night long.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they heard it all last night.
Yeah, I got to leave one window open for the dog, or she'll be really upset.
Okay. Okay. No problem. Let's get Chris here unmuted real quick. Or he can unmute himself, I believe. There we go. And then we got Sammy on the other side. Town hall is coming together very quickly, very fast. Very good. Very good. There we go. Sherry's popped in. Welcome, Sherry, to Iggy Garcia Live. Together very quickly, very fast. Very good. Good. All right. All right. What are you doing over there, Chris? Live. Very good. Good. See, I sprayed that axe stuff on, and that was bad. That was a bad move. Got right in my throat. Anyhow, welcome to the show, guys. Welcome, and Sherry's gonna whoop me for coughing. Anyhow, so guys, thanks for joining us, and everybody who's watching on Facebook, please, if you want to join, just pop in. And if you just want to listen, that's fine. If you want to participate, it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to go bouncing back and forth on Facebook, but watch as we progress through the show. And I can't really state any better that we should just be respectful of one another and honor each other's space, because we're trying to figure out solutions to some problems that we probably have very simple answers sometimes. So I'm going to throw a topic out there, and you guys go at it. And if you have a topic you want to talk about, let me know. But we're just going to go straight to the bananas and the beans and the rice. And we're
Yeah, I expect
okay.
nothing less from you, Iggy.
All right, we're going to go. And you know what? Shit hit the fan this week. Somebody lost their lives. Not that people don't lose their lives, but the way it happened was really kind of messed up. And please, this is going to be a PG-13 show. So if you're going to watch it later on YouTube, it will be PG-13. So if you throw an F-bomb from time to time, it's okay. We're all adults. We can all understand.
Yeah.
So Floyd George, right? Is that his name? Floyd George. Guy got killed, right? So he the police killed this guy. I'm not going to mess around and pussyfoot around. Yeah. This guy, somebody's feeding back on their system, on their mic. I'm not sure which one it is, but just want to might turn your volume down. So I posted that this was an execution, and I truly believe that. That's just my opinion. So it doesn't mean that you have to have that opinion, but in my mind, this person was killed in a very unjust way. So there we got it. The show has started. So I don't know who wants to jump out there and who wants to go. Raise your hand if you want to speak, and we'll listen.
There's a loaded question there.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I'm usually the first to volunteer, but okay. Man, it's why I left Facebook right now. Mm-hmm. Perfectly honest. It's not that I have an issue with people's opinions. I certainly do not agree or believe in what happened in any way, shape, or form. But it's just too much anger for me right now. So I kind of had to back away from it. But it's definitely not a good thing. Racism, bullyism, all of it just fucking sucks.
Yeah. So you guys are able to unmute yourselves while you're talking. So when you're done talking, just mute yourself. And when you want to talk, unmute yourself. So I'm going to pick one person at a time here. So Sherry, I'm going to ask you and see where your feelings are about everything that you see is going on in America today.
Well, this is my first time with you on these things.
Well, welcome.
But yeah. Well, I have many sides to the story, as you probably know. You know, my sweetheart was not white. And, you know, I listened to him for years talk about these things and trying to get me to understand what it was like for his perspective. So I forced myself to watch the whole entire video. And if you haven't watched the whole video, it's just, I was literally in tears because for 8 minutes, in 43 seconds, 6 minutes and 43 seconds. Anyway, he sat with his knee on that man's neck for 6 minutes. And then 3 minutes after, you could tell he was clearly already passed away. And, you know, it was just heartbreaking to see all the people standing around and not doing anything. And it's just a lot. And my sweetheart has 2 teenage sons. And, you know, you just think about them, and, you know, it's just got a lot on my mind. So like, I talked to one of his sons today and I was like, listen, you know, I agree with, you know, I understand that you protest, and I understand that, but I told him, if I see your ass down there, you know, cause I don't want him in the midst of the violence. I don't mind protests, but even just before you came on, I was watching Channel 6 shows them right in front of the police station tonight, and they're already heated, and it's not even dark yet. So God only knows what's going to happen tonight. So I'm just praying for some, you know, civil rest.
Very good.
You know, it's heartbreaking.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate that. So I watched the video too. And at the end is what really, the whole thing bothered me. But at the end, there's protocols when somebody has neck injuries or somebody has been put in a certain type of position. You know, the medical community probably could vouch for this, how you will address or how you will move somebody's body. And the way they flopped him on that gurney, it was just like, whoa, what the heck? You know, we take caution when we have kids injure their heads when they play soccer. I mean, we take more meticulously, you know, taking care of them. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I watching? I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone for a second. So I don't know. It just, I don't know. I don't know how to feel sometimes about this, but I'm pretty upset and I'm pretty angry personally. But Chris, I'm going to bring you on real quick, if you don't mind sharing. Let me see if I can unmute you and get a feel for what you're feeling and what's going on in your mind.
Well, to me, it seems like it's been going on a lot longer than, I mean, it's been going on forever. It's just now more people see it because more people have cameras, and I mean, it's all going to stop, but how to stop it, I have no idea, because there's so much ignorance out there that it's just, I don't comprehend it, is what. Pretty much.
Did you watch the video? Did you get to see that?
Yeah. It wasn't something I want my grandkids to see.
Right. And you know, sometimes I'm going to say this real tactfully because I don't want to come across insensitive, but sometimes it takes a video like that for us to like wake up or take. I mean, you're right though, Chris. This has been going on for a long time. A lot of these things aren't documented, and a lot of these things aren't recorded, and you know, so we don't have any visuals but that was pretty deep, profound visual for a lot of people. And you know, I know this happens all over the world. I know this happens all over the place, but we're here. This is our country, and this is where, you know, the problems are stemming from. We have a disconnect with different ethnic groups and people of authority. And what I'm seeing is you know, my uncle was a deputy sheriff, and he told me one time that you have an officer has to have that a little bit of that mentality of that fine line to know what a criminal thinks like. So you almost kind of be not criminal like, but you have to have a little bit of a criminal thinking, you know, in order to know how these guys think, a criminal. And so I'm not sure, you know, it's like I said, this is just so raw, you know, it's really raw, you know, what we're dealing with here. And I'm gonna go down here to Sammy here real quick. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Yep.
And you know, last night we had some protests, peaceful protesting, and you know, I'm for peaceful protesting, but I also get why everybody flipped the shit and why everybody went crazy and why everybody throughout the country thought it was okay to destroy things. I don't condone looting and stealing people's shit and taking their stuff, but you know what? I understand to some degree why this could happen and why this is able to happen and why people would do this and take this opportunity. And you know, there's always people in groups who instigate things too. We know that. So it could have been a peaceful thing, and all of a sudden it just takes one you know, I always say that, you guys have heard me, it takes one person to change the world, right? And one person changed the world the other day. Okay. And here we are. And so now we also have the opportunity to change the world again. So I'm going to go down here to Sammy and let him talk with us if I can get him unmuted. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the show, Sammy.
Hey,
good to see you.
I have not seen the video. I purposely don't watch that stuff just for the fact that it may trigger something that I'm not willing to experience.
Right.
Because I feel all that kind of stuff, and in any given moment, I can feel somebody's pain, anger, and just a whole gambit of emotions. But what's going on in people's heads, inside their brains, when something of this nature happens, we don't know.
Yeah.
It could be an imbalance of some sorts that's been escalated by all this COVID-19 and this staying home and the quarantine, and people are already on edge to begin with.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know how far the individuals are being pushed, and the uncertainty of the state of the nation with the economy and everything compiled on top of each other, that could have some sort of effect to this, but it doesn't excuse what happened.
Right.
There are other ways to take matters, take another avenue, another option, another route, but just by what I've heard other people say is pretty graphic.
Yeah, and you know, there has been videos where people have been killed or hurt, and they have been people rioted, and maybe we don't see it so much in the news because they don't broadcast it or they don't want us to see it. But this is, I think, Sammy made a good point. Maybe this is an even more charged situation because we've been in isolation, we've been in quarantine, we've been shut in our homes, and I don't know, the state of mind of everybody's different, of course, when they come out of this. And then, you know, this is the most sickening way to come out of quarantine, you know, and witness something like this and be part of something like this, because we're all part of this. We're all affected by this in some way or another, because we have either our opinions, our beliefs about what happened. And we, you know, I'm fortunate enough, not too many people, except for some hacks that come on who aren't my friends on Facebook, because my feed is open to the public, you know, said some nasty stuff about that guy. And I had totally blocked him and deleted him because I was like, what the heck? Really? I mean, really? Are you going to, like, there's no regard for life. And that's what totally gets me, that there's no regard for human life. And then the people that were posting these very vulgar things about the situation, about this guy who got killed, I was like, well, there's our problem. There's our issue, is that there are people who don't see other human beings as human beings. They see them as God knows what they see them like, because I have no clue. But when I was reading these posts, I deleted them all because it was just like, I don't, this is my post and I'm going to delete it. If you don't like it, get out. And plus, you're my friend. I don't even know, get out of here. It's like, go take your garbage somewhere else, because, there's issues here. There's problems here. And it's pretty evident that we are trying to navigate this, and we're kind of walking a little bit on eggshells sometimes because, and Chris, I'm going to bring you on here. And I think sometimes people are afraid to speak their mind because they feel like they might offend somebody or they might say something in a wrong way. Because I have seen that now with posts where people were trying to express what they were seeing and what they felt, and they're getting beat up for it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'm from Reynoldsburg, so I'm local. So this is our backyard, plain and simple. I mean, and what I can remember growing up in a white community, I remember the first Black family that moved to Reynoldsburg, and everybody was like, and it was like, what? He's a human being. He's a person. He lives down the street from me. He's my age. What's the issue? I never understood it.
Right.
But I grew up in a world of bullies, and racism is nothing but adult bullies, plain and simple. It's not a question of, to me, it's like, I used to drive down Main Street from downtown, and there used to be a Black gentleman that would walk out in front of cars, intentionally trying to get hit. And he walked out in front of my car one day, and I hit the brakes, and I rolled my window down, and I screamed at him. I said, I'm going to tell you what. I said, you do that again, I said, I will hit you. Not because you're Black. I said, we all bleed red, motherfucker. I said, I don't care. Don't walk out in front of my car again.
Yeah.
And it was like the way I put it to him, he kind of looked at me. I was like, I don't see. My mother says I have one racist bone in my body, and that's towards racist people. I said, I don't see, I never have seen color. I don't see religion. I don't see any of that. And that's why I'm kind of like Sammy right now. I'm in a state of mind that I feel too much. It triggers and things, and where I'm at, Iggy. It's just too much for me to deal with. I can't even think about watching the video. I can't even imagine what that would do to me right now. And it's, but I have friends of all walks of life. I can, I've had interracial friends. It's like, I don't get it. And it's just plain and simple. It's wrong. Life is life. And I can't understand people, and I'll never be able to understand people that are like that ever.
Yeah.
It sickens me beyond belief. But yeah, it's like people's opinions. I'm okay with it. And I'm like you, Iggy. I'm like, I get it. But what hurts is the anger that comes from it. Anger isn't the answer. Anger is not the solution at all. Anger is only going to fuel the fire. It's not, that's not the route we need to take. Rioting is not the route we need to take. That's not going to solve the problem. It's only going to fuel it.
Right.
It's only going to make it worse. I mean, think about what's happened in other cities in California and everything over the last 20, 30 years when stuff like this happens. It's just finally in our own backyard.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I also wanted to bring up Black Lives Matters. Okay. Because I find this very important, because I also have seen people say that all lives matter. And I get that. But I think sometimes we're missing the point what that statement means. I don't know if anybody wants to tackle that or kind of explain that and what kind of feel they get about that, because I think there's a disconnect with that as well, what that means. Black Lives Matters. Sherry, I mean, when I say what Black Lives Matters, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I mean, and all lives matter. I mean, these are two different things, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been one that saw both sides of the story, and Sean always hated that because he always wanted me to see his perspective, but I am white, it is, hello, no denying that. But, I could always try to see his side. And so I don't understand the people that don't understand the saying, you know what I mean? Obviously, everyone's lives matter. But the point is, for hundreds of years, they've been dealing with this. For hundreds of years, this country was, the history of this country has been dealing with this.
Yes.
And so it's just, it's a lot right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, unrelated to that, like even watching them right as we speak, they're standing in front of all these police officers and just berating them. And that breaks my heart because those guys didn't do anything, you know? So it's like, there's so much going on and it's just too much.
Thank you. You know, it's very tense right now. Our country is in a very tense place, you know, because we don't understand each other as much as we all are Americans. Some of us transplanted, like myself. I'm a transplant, naturalized citizen. So I was not born here, but I was raised here most of my life and gone back to Peru and visited and stuff. And I find myself being, for a long time, an outsider in this country and an outsider in my country. You go back to Peru and I'm like the white Peruvian, you know, I'm like the mestizo guy. You know, I go there, I don't know the slang, I don't know all the stuff, and they make fun of you. And then I come back here and it's like, I know, and I'm like trying to fit in here because I'm different. As a child, it was really hard because I didn't speak English very well. And so I had to like work super hard to get rid of my accent. I have an accent. Sometimes when you hear me talk, you probably hear me, my accent comes out and I'll talk a certain way. If you really listen to how I'm speaking, that's why I mumble a lot, or I sound like I'm kind of slow when I talk sometimes, because, you know, as a kid, you wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit in. I even wanted to change my name. I wanted to be really American. I wanted to be North American, like nobody's business. And so I wanted to be like the little kid in the Little Rascals. And, you know, Robert Blake, he was Mickey in the Little Rascals. I said, Mom, I'm changing my name to Mickey. And she's like, why? Because all the kids make fun of my name. And she goes, what's wrong with Nacho? There aren't any nachos in my class, Mom. I'm the only nacho. You know, there are no nachos. And so it's like, okay. And, you know, and I struggled with that. And then when I went to college and played soccer for 2 games, you know what? And I ended up getting a nickname called, nickname is Iggy. That's the name. That was given to me by soccer players who I played soccer with. Hey guys, how are you? And you know what? It's because they didn't like to call me Nacho, and they didn't want to, they said it was too long to say Ignacio in the game. We're just gonna call you Iggy. So we get appropriated that way. You know, we get changed and we become somebody else's way of how they want you to be. And so, but they molded me into this version of myself, and I have these 3 versions of myself: Ignacio, Nacho, and Iggy. These 3 people who reside within me. And so, yeah, that's a little story, a little background. So, hey guys, I want to bring you guys on real quick. Unmute you. Good to see you. See if I can.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, my brother and my sister? Good to see you.
Hey.
Peace and love. Thanks for. Oh, you guys look great.
Thank you. So fuzzy, haven't been in the barber shop at all. So
well, here, me too.
Itching to go away.
There you go. So I don't know if you've been listening to our show and kind of catching up with what's going on, and you know, it's really tense right now, and a lot has been happening, and there's a lot of emotional charges happening in the world, especially in our little worlds, and we're trying to navigate the waters the best we can. And you know, can't tell you because you already know what happened, but this is to me, it's a tragedy what occurred, and this happens quite too often. You know, so I want to kind of get a perspective from you and tell me how you're feeling right now about everything. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Man, I really want to be as descriptive as possible so that people will understand exactly what I feel every day as a Black man, because most of us don't talk to anybody. We have coworkers who are white, Asian, Hispanic, and, you know, sometimes, you know, at the water cooler, people joke and laugh, but at the end of the day, we really go home to 2 different dimensions. And so as a Black man, one of the things that I feel when I wake up in the morning is shock, because I can't believe that I'm still on this planet, because there's so much hatred for, you know, my kind of human here. It's frightening because I look at my children and every one of them have a question mark over their head as far as their lifespan is concerned. I have to ask myself, how long is are my sons and granddaughters and everything like that going to live? Are they going to get to be an old man? And are they going to get to be an old woman? Are they going to get to be successful? Or is a racist cop going to kill them? And then on top of that, I think the same thing for myself. But it's funny because I'm too busy working for my family to really take a look at my own life sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't always think about me. I think about my family first.
Sure.
And so, but then when I get to me, I feel like sometimes I get this feeling like my head is being held underwater, and somebody's trying to drown, and I'm trying to panic and freak out and think of how to get out of it. And then I have to kind of slow down, and breathe and let that feeling pass. And the reason that feeling is there is because I live in a predatory world where most people who are not, me, try or want to kill me or eradicate me or gentrify me or make sure that we don't have neighborhoods or things like that. And these are the things, the issues that go on that a lot of white Americans aren't privy to, or Chinese Americans. And so when we talk about it, people think, oh, he's just the angry black guy, or that's the angry black girl. But the kind of things that just happen all the time. And it's like every month there's at least 2 or 3 of these deaths that hit the national television, to remind you as a black citizen that you really don't matter. America doesn't have your back. You were brought here because of your ancestors were enslaved, and you have a passport, but you're not shit. And if you die, somebody's going to get off with it, or they're going to make it seem like, oh, he was a dope dealer, he was this, he was that. There are so many assaults against a black person's character just for being black. You don't even have to be a leader or not. And most of our leaders are killed or assassinated, but or demasculated some kind of how. But so there's a lot of frustration here. What hit me the hardest was when my mama told me that the brother was crying for his mother as he was being suffocated.
Yeah.
I could, that hit me hard because I remember suffering from a very bad migraine, and I lived in North Carolina. And my mom flew 500 miles to see if I was okay.
Wow. She
came out of her retirement. I think she pulled like $2,000 or $3,000 out, wasn't even retired yet, and came all the way down to see if I was okay, and when an hour, before it happened, I was talking to her on the phone. I mean, a couple hours before it happened, I was talking to her on the phone. But so he was suffocating and he called for his mama, and so I heard the comment that I think the one person made about how being empathic, and I understand that you don't want to watch the video. But at the same time, as a black person, we have no choice but to see that, because if we don't see it on TV, you're going to see it in your life. I've been through my neighborhood, I see when somebody gets pulled over, and it's just a normal traffic stop, there are 3 cops pulling that person over because they're black. But when it happens like in a white neighborhood, you don't see that. You don't see that. And so I could come from so many angles. I don't want to take up the whole airtime, but it is frustrating. It is like I'm a tough guy, but I just kind of want to cry, but my body's confused. Sure. It really is, because it just doesn't know what to do. It's like, it feels like tears want to well out. I could just remember when the guy got killed, I was just staring off in space, so it's hard.
Yeah. I had a situation over the weekend where the police came to my house looking for somebody else, and they wanted to arrest me, and they wanted for mistaken identity, and they didn't even check my ID. They were from Hilliard. I live in Columbus. They were out of their jurisdiction. This is at 2:00 in the morning. They're banging on my door. And my wife tells them to, and she calls me because I'm downstairs. She's upstairs, and she goes, "The police are here." So someone's at the door, and I said, "I don't know, who is it?" And so I open the door, and the Hilliard police says, "Can you step out of the house, please?" And so I step out of the house, and I'm like, "What's the matter?" He goes, "Where have you been all night?" I'm like, "What the fuck? Who are you? Who? Why are you? Who? What?" I'm like, and I'm half asleep, and I'm thinking, these guys are looking for somebody. They think I might be that guy. And they go, do you own a silver Kia? And I go, no, we don't own a silver Kia. And they go, well, we saw a picture and this guy got out of the car and hit skip. It was a hit skip. And I said, we own a Dodge Nitro. And they go, yeah, that car was seen leaving the scene, fleeing the scene. I'm like, that car's never not been, no one's left the house. And the guy goes, well, I put my infrared radar on it and it's hot. And and then he goes, do you know somebody by the last name Sweet? I go, I don't know anybody by the last name Sweet. And then they go, do you know a Colin? And I go, I know of a Colin, and he lives next door. He doesn't live next door. He visits his mom. And they're like, oh. He goes, and then the one cop walks over to the house, and the one cop goes to me, goes, you better be straight with me, and you better tell me right now before I kick your ass and find out, if you're lying to me. You better swear to God you didn't lie to me. He said this to me in my face.
Yeah.
And I said, really? I said, listen, just calm down. He goes, don't tell me to calm down. So, I just really, I think you're at the wrong house. He goes, no, I'm not the wrong house. And I said, and I think you're out of your jurisdiction. And, I'm like, and he was getting really pissed off at me. And I didn't want to confront him because I knew if I confront him or I said anything, he was itching to kick my ass. It didn't matter. He was ready to rock my world. Okay. And I was like, I just need to be the Zen place, that place where just like, and I called the Hilliard police, filed a report, and I said, this better be taken. I called Columbus. I told Hilliard I called Columbus because Columbus, they have to have the Columbus Police Department there when they're out of jurisdiction in order to. So it was messed up, and I've seen my dad go through all this stuff over the years too, and it's just terrible. And it's crazy. That was just a crazy experience. And Willow, how about you? How you been?
Hi, everybody. Excuse me. Sorry, this weather has my throat.
Yeah, me too.
My experience is different. I've kind of been on my own since I was about 13 years old. And so I have been around nothing but white people. Like nothing. I'm surprised I still sound country and not extra proper like him, because all my friends have only been white. I have been pulled over 40 times by mostly white. I think only one black cop pulled me over. And it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, go make sure you do this. And so I think it's just something about my aura that seems calm. And I can be in a white neighborhood and nobody is grabbing their purse or like she's going to rob us, or I can be in a black neighborhood and nobody even looks twice. With me, I worry about my sons.
Yeah.
With me, it's like when he comes home from work, it's a huge party for us. Because we're like, yay, there go daddy. And the kids are so excited and they just hugging on him. And he's like the best thing in the world to them. And to me, I'm like, yes, he's alive. What my oldest living son is 6'3". He's maybe 270 pounds. So he looks like a big linebacker. But he's the sweetest person in the world. And I have had to tell him, because he's been tall like that since he was about 11. I had a little tiny mustache, and I've had to say, listen, make sure, you're not moving around if you're approached. Make sure you're kind of calm, and it's scary to have those talks with my sons. My daughters only went to predominantly white schools, kind of proper, and be like, oh my God, hey dude. So nobody ever looks at them twice. They have gotten pulled over, and it's like the way they speak and they sound like little valley girls. Cops are usually like, oh, okay, go ahead. It's never really a problem. And so when I met him, I just knew I was gonna have me a white husband. I just knew it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have me a white husband, all these little white babies, and that's just it. So I met him, and he took me to the black side of town here, and I wouldn't get out of the car because I was scared that a Black person was going to harm me. And if you
Wow.
knew my history, you would
Interesting.
understand being raped, everything else, it came from African American people. So this is where that fear came from.
Okay.
And so he talked to me about racism. I had never heard the word, and I was 29. And so I was
Wow.
like, what do you mean? And so my first time watching Roots, I was 30 years old. And so I had never heard of Martin Luther King. People didn't believe me, but I was a housewife at 15. So I had 6 kids by my first husband. I never was outside. So I didn't know any of this stuff existed.
Okay.
So I started a journey myself. And then I found out like I am 48% European. So then I figured out that my white relatives raped my Black ones. And then I learned about slavery and how that feels, you know, to go through that. And so I just kind of went through this little identity crisis for a while. And me and him was having this conversation. If you look at my skin color and you look at his, he would have been killed for talking to me. I would have been the house Negro and he would have been out in the field. We never would have been able to have children together, you know? So just that in itself is kind of stressful. And to kind of pull it on back, I could not watch the whole video. Like my body won't allow me to.
Right.
And I tried to just sit and just listen, and hearing the guy call for his mommy was just too much for me. I have had to bury 3 children, 3 sons to be exact. So that was just too much for me. So yes, I have been able to mingle in both worlds and not have that discrimination and not deal with racism and don't really understand what that feels like, because for some reason I have not dealt with it. I've had some a-hole people say stuff to me, but they were just a-holes. It didn't matter what your skin color was. They were just butt wipes. But with him and me having an African-American husband, I may not understand what that feels like to be an African-American man. I don't know the struggles at all. I never will know, but I have the empathy for him and others that are living in fear, you know, and we seriously have to sit down with our sons. Like, you can't play with your toy gun outside. They don't understand why. They can't.
Right.
And we live in a predominantly white neighborhood. We're right around the corner from the police. They're pretty good. We haven't really had a problem with them, but it's like still the white kids here, you see them with their toy guns and they're running around shooting each other. We wouldn't ever dare allow our children to do that, ever. It's like, you don't go to the door. You don't even look around the corner to answer the door, you know, and it's almost like we open the garage and hurry up and run them in. And a lot of people don't understand that. So you got to kind of put a face on it. Me, myself, I don't have that fear, but I have that fear for him and my children.
Sure.
So I hope that kind of puts a little tiny bit of a face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our life.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so we're going to continue the conversation here. So I actually met a person who I never met a Black person. This is a true story. They've never met. They lived so far out in the boondocks that she never met him. And the first time she met a Black person, she actually was kind of like, wow, what? Because they have no TV, no water, no nothing. This is like somebody who lives out. I mean, I'm serious. And she said it was the hardest lesson for her, because as soon as she shook hands with this Black man, she looked at her hand and she was like, and the Black guy goes, "Don't worry, honey, it ain't gonna come out." You know, it was just really funny. That's her story she told me. And I was like, and I looked at her and go, "Really? Never?" She goes, "No, never, Iggy. I had never, until I moved out of that small little rural town, that I had never met a Black person." She goes, "I've heard of them, but I never met one, because they just weren't anybody who were Black." So Krista, you had a question here. So I saw your hand go up there, and let me see if I can unmute you.
It's not so much a question. I guess I just want to give some feedback on myself and my situation. I've spent a lot of my life living on the streets. literally, in Black neighborhoods. I live in a Black neighborhood now. I am the minority in the neighborhood I live in. I worry, I have gangs all around me. I have a high school right at the end of my street. Back in the day, not that long ago, I've been here 26 years. We had riots during football games and basketball games because two rival gang schools were playing each other. I mean, they had to tear gas a basketball game in the building one night because they couldn't get the people under control. And I've lived here for 26 years. And I don't have fear. Because of the life I've led, I choose to walk and go wherever it is I choose to want to go, morning, noon, or night, doesn't matter to me. People are like, why are you out across the street at 11 o'clock walking the park? And I'm like, well, first off, I got my dogs with me, ain't nobody gonna mess with me. I said, but second is, it's my neighborhood, I'm gonna do what I want. And everybody's like, but aren't you afraid? I'm like, well, sure, but I'm not gonna let that fear control me. But at the same time, there's things here we just don't do. We're kind of like in the same boat as a Black person living in a white neighborhood. I'm a white person living in a Black neighborhood. And my soon-to-be ex-husband happens to be a South Ender. So he was born and raised in the Black world. So he's more comfortable in the Black world than the white world.
Sure.
I mean, I remember when I first met him, he would take me to places and he thought he would culturally shock me. And I said, you can't. I said, not the things I've done. I've been shot at in my life. I've been raped. I've been put through hell. And it's like, I still choose to live my life the way I do. But my reason for not being able to watch the video has more to do with, I just can't, I'm kind of like, I know it happens. I hear enough about it. I just can't visually watch it. It's more than I can take personally. And, but I live in this world. I live every day in this world. I mean, my neighborhood, with the few exceptions of the people that live next door to me, my whole neighborhood is Black. And it's like, it is what it is. They're human beings. I don't have an issue with them. Most of them don't have issues with me. I have occasional issues with some of the high school kids, but for the most part, we all get along. And that's the only way we're going to survive all of this, is someday we're going to have to figure it out that, we're not Black, white, yellow, or whatever. We're just human beings.
Right.
And I just wish more people could live that way. I've lived that way my whole life. And that's why I don't have an issue with the humans at all. But it's just so hard to see and hear. I know what that's like. I've been around it enough. I've experienced it enough. I've been enough people. I've seen people die. I've seen people killed. I mean, I've seen enough of it. I just can't deal with it anymore. Right. That's my reason for not being able to watch such a video and have to walk away from a lot of this right now. I was rather surprised when I saw you putting Town Hall on tonight. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come on. I was like, I know what the topic of conversation is going to be. I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be with it, but I thought, nope, I'm going to do it anyway. So here I am.
All right, cool. Thanks, Krista.
It's good.
So, we have these town halls so we can share our feelings and our emotions and kind of express what's on our mind, because by communicating and talking, we learn from each other. When we're separate and it's just one little group of clique. And I invite everybody who's listening to the show, if you can get on Zoom and you have a different perspective on what you're listening, I'd like to hear that. If you think you see the world differently, I want to know. I think everybody here wants to know, because we all live in our own little worlds and our own little creations and the things that have been created for us. There's situations that have been created for us, and sometimes we have to adapt to those situations and those places that we live in. We live on the east side, west side, north side. It's kind of how it is, and we have to learn from that. Now, I'm going to ask everybody a question, and I'm just going to go right down the line, and you answer however you feel. No one's judging here. It's how you feel about it. So we have protesters. Do the protesters have the right to loot and destroy the property they see? Do the protesters have the right to be peaceful protest? Because there's a million perspectives on this and perceptions on this. And basically, I kind of want to get a feel what you guys are feeling and what's going on, Chris. And I want to bring you on, Chris, and kind of see how you feel about that. Let me get you unmuted here. Go ahead.
Yeah, they have the right to protest. That's why I was in the military. So they can have that right.
Sure.
But to destroy stuff, I don't personally, I can't comprehend that because I don't understand what that helps. But you know, I'm not a very violent person to begin with, so I can't wrap my mind around what destroying someone's restaurant or anything like that is going to help.
Right.
But yeah, to protest, all for it.
All right, cool. Thanks. I'm just gonna go down the line here, and I'm gonna ask everybody, just kind of get their opinion, and let's get Sammy's opinion here.
I think peaceful protest is acceptable, but like Chris said, I don't understand about the looting and vandalism and all of that stuff. I mean, I don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment on that. Thank you. All right, Sherry, we're gonna go to you. Smile, Sherry.
I know it's so. So I totally am for protest. You know, my sweetheart. You know, he was in the military, and you have that right. And I even see why there's looting and stuff. Like, I understand the cause, but I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it helps the cause. I understand it. I just don't think it helps it. So,
okay.
like, trust me, I have so much. This is brought up, unfortunately, so much. You know, being with a person who's not white, who's not on this earth anymore, due to a white person accusing him of a crime, and he decided to take his own life. You know, it's just a lot. So this has brought up a lot of stuff for me. So
very good.
But anyway,
thank you. Appreciate you. All right, let's go here. All right, guys.
You go ahead.
Again, I want to express myself as articulately as possible. And I say that because being African American, you might have more than two dialects. Okay. So I'm multilingual. And one of the dialects that comes out when we get upset where I'm from, is, you might sound a little Ebonic or hood. And when that happens, typically certain people see you as not being intelligent unless, you're amongst people who speak the same language as you, So like I said, I want to express myself as articulately as possible. To me, the way I feel about the looting is mixed emotion. And I will kind of explain why I have mixed emotion. When you see me, you are kind of seeing a person from another country like Iraq that has history in a war, like an Iranian. Okay. And I know a little bit about Iranians because recently I've almost finished a book by, her name is Asa Sultan, and it's called Golden. I think it was written like 4 years ago, maybe, but the lady's from Iran, and she explained how her and her family escaped, what life was like over there. So what I'm getting at is where the frustration comes from. Part of me doesn't really care that stuff was destroyed, and I'll tell you why.
Please.
So when slavery started, my people were guinea pigs amongst all things. Gynecological technology was perfected because the doctors dissected and tested things on Black women without anesthesia. Then they wanted to test electrical equipment. So one lady in history, they shocked her until the skin on her back started smoking. And you can look it up. I forget what the event was called. But recently, I think within the last couple of years, they had to take the statue down of the doctor that got all the praise for the work in gynecology because, they found out all that stuff.
Right.
They had farms for my great-grandfathers called buck-breaking farms where they would sodomize my great-great-grandfathers. And if they did not comply, they had something called a pleasure pearl, which went into the sphincter and had a screw and opened it up and ripped them up. Okay, so if they survived, they walk around with their open sphincter, but most of them died. Where else? The people in Tuskegee in the 50s or the 40s injected my relatives with syphilis just to see what would happen. So then we go into, things that happen nowadays, even in the, with Emmett, not too long ago in the 50s with Emmett Till. Emmett Till was just, trying to buy some candy from a store, and he had a speech impediment. And when he got nervous, he would whistle. The white woman accused him of whistling at him. And then he got, lynched so far beyond belief that when his mom chose to have the open casket, his face looked like he was an alien. That stuff has not stopped. The 90s came in, and you saw shows like Star Trek where you had Geordie LaForge and Commander Worf, and there's all these different races together on this starship that made it look like we were going forward and one day we'd be there. Psych. So, it's just, there's so much to it that I'm putting in a nutshell. If you actually study things that happen in Black history, the things that they don't teach in a school, not only would you be mad about the past, but you'd be mad about the present. Like for instance, I had an Uber ride where one guy told me that I think he was shocked at how I sounded because he was from the South.
Yeah.
And he was asking about my education. I told him I have a degree in, engineering, blah, blah, blah. And he said, man, where I come from, they wouldn't let us have those science books, and kids still don't have those same science books that you guys have. And I said, man, that's, that seems like it's just right back in the 50s and, and beyond. So, it's just, there's so much injustice that goes on, like for instance, the reason why my wife can get a job in a corporate world versus somebody like me who, has, my articulation and my caliber of education is because if you look at a book called The Making of a Slave, and then let me see, it was called The Willie Lynch Letter and the Making of a Slave. There was something called The Nigger Marriage, which was it was a protocol, one of the psychological protocols that they use on Black people to behave a certain way. So what they did was, one of the things was they would take one slave, tie him to two horses, and slap the horses on a button. They'd rip the slave apart in front of the women. And then, like I say, with the buck breaking, they sodomize the slave in front of women. So they do all this stuff to make a Black man look powerless. So the Black woman would not trust the Black man, because in the book, Willie Lynch said that they knew that in the African community, the Black women depended on the Black men. So they needed to break that. And so what they would do is they would sometimes treat the Black woman nicer. And so if she had a child that was a female, she would teach that child to delegate through the white people. But if she had a black child that was a male, she would teach him to be physically superior but psychologically inferior, so he wouldn't be killed. So anyhow, what that led to is something called a bed wench. And the bed wench was the slave that got to, sleep with the master. And, just so long as they didn't really produce any offspring. Sometimes they did, like Frederick Douglass, he was one of them, so they called him a mulatto. But anyhow, most of those babies got buried in somebody's wall, or they got, executed some kind of how. But anyhow, so the bed wenches have this relationship. So when in the white community, when, a Black woman is in an office setting and they're articulate and all this kind of stuff, they get all this, kind of natural attention versus somebody, like me. So I'm getting to it. I want to tie everything up.
No, I get you. I'm following you.
So there is so much that I can direct your attention to, from the past to the present, to the fact that a brother in my situation in this time period is still in the same situation pre-Malcolm X, pre-Martin Luther King, pre-Rosa Parks, pre-all that, pre-Emmett Till. It's still there. This brother that died was Emmett Till all over again. Emmett Till got accused of whistling. This brother got accused of writing a bad check. And he was supposed to die for a bad check. It wasn't a bad check, but still, the IRS or somebody's supposed to deal with you on bad money, but, you don't get executed on it. So anyhow, do I care about the stuff being smashed? Part of me says, no, I don't. Because when we were peaceful, guess what? Martin Luther King was peaceful. He got executed. Bye. He's dead. He's worm food. Okay? We shall overcome and all that jazz. Didn't do a daggone thing. Nothing. Malcolm X was not so peaceful, And the reason is because he just believed, hey, if somebody tries to put their hands on you, send them to the grave. That's it, by any means necessary. He got executed. There's a greater issue here. The reason wasn't because we had to be peaceful or violent. The reason that we got executed or we get executed is because we exist. And as long as everybody else has peace, it's okay if we die. It's okay if you look at your 3-year-old son in the morning and know when he's 19, a cop might ice his ass. It's okay with the world if you die. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
So no, I don't care. But then at the same time, I know you, Iggy, and I know your people, and I do care about their shops being messed up. That's messed up. You know, and you know, I came to Garcia's all the time. You know, that was a spot. I consider Columbus like the neutral zone because, you know, some places in here I just wouldn't mess with. You know, this neighborhood, I hide in this house. My mama's neighborhood, I'm okay. It's a black suburb. I can walk around. Nobody's gonna ask me nothing. Even in the black hood, nobody's gonna ask me nothing. You know, but other parts of town, no, wouldn't be messing around over there. But I come to Columbus, and it's like everybody's together.
Yeah.
So the fact that togetherness, that peace got rattled, that does upset me a bit. But what's most upsetting to me is the fact that I have to wake up every morning and deal with this terror of living in this country, this terror of living in this world. Let me go beyond this country. I forget what the young man's name was, but there was a young man that he was in college. He just graduated. He had his own fashion line. He was black, and he went with his white friends to Greece or Italy, and he saw a really beautiful Italian woman or you know, or Greek woman or whatever she was, really beautiful, and he wanted to take a selfie with her. What young red-blooded man wouldn't, you know?
Right.
And then, you know, some checks went around, just beat him to death. So now his mama had to put on that black dress. You know, so you know, the fact that stuff gets smashed, I'm not surprised because we get smashed, we get tortured, we get mutilated all the time, and you know, nobody says anything about it. And a common comment that somebody always brings up is, "So what about black on black crime?" Okay, let's talk about that. So yes, black people rob other black people or shoot other black people is because of economic stuff going on, or it's because of drugs. I lived in the DeSoto Bass, or right across the street from it, which is the deadliest hood supposed to be here. It's calm now, but nobody messes with you unless you're into some drug stuff, unless you're into some gang stuff. If you mind your own business, it's quiet. I can like play a video and ride through the Bass in an hour and put it on my Facebook page. You'll see nobody shooting. There's no gangsters, nothing like that. The gangsters are probably inside playing Xbox or something. You know, so just to keep it real. But anyhow, but what I'm getting at is, yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's crazy. So we always getting messed up. You know, our lives are like that, or like what the city looks like now. And so now, because this level of destruction happened, now the world is looking like, oh wow, what's the matter here? Oh gee, that is
what's the matter?
Yeah, what's the matter? Well, what's the matter has been always the matter.
No, it's always been matter. You're right.
Yeah, always the matter. But like I said, you know, black people are killing other black people is because of something economic. But other than that, a lot of us don't want to kill each other. You know, a lot of us are happy to see each other because the world is not happy to see us. A lot of us have, you know, unwritten understandings when we look at each other and, you know, nod our head or, you know, say what's up or whatever, because, you know, we know what kind of boat we're in. You know, so we're not like savages and all these things that they make us out to be on the news and everybody's a drug dealer and all this kind of stuff. No, you know.
All right.
Yeah,
very good.
That's my feeling.
All right. So most of you guys don't know, I have a son who's half white and half black. So most of you don't know that, but I just wanted, I had a good conversation with him today, and he's my youngest son, and he was really upset about what was happening. But I also try to have him see different vantage points of what's going on. And then also my son-in-law, who's married to my daughter, he's a white guy. And, you know, it was just a really weird conversation because, you know, my son's coming from a different point and my other son's trying to understand the minority viewpoint. I'm Latino. I agree. For those of you who don't know that, I'm Hispanic. Okay. I was born in Peru. I have seen my share of crap, and I've been fortunate that I've never been arrested or never done anything. I try to walk that line. My dad says if you do the crime, then you do the time. My dad always said do that. But you know what? I watched my dad get arrested. I watched my dad get beat up by the police. I watched my dad, just because of the color of his skin and the way he spoke and the way he looked. I look a lot different. I look more like my mom. She's more lighter skin Italian. I'm Italian, Peruvian, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm mestizo. I'm mixed. In my country, I'm the mixed person. And I'm the guy who is, kind of has all the different um, you know, types of ethnic people inside of my body. So I saw that. And I know in any situation, peaceful or not peaceful, there's always going to be somebody who's going to agitate the system. And I get that. And I understand that. And that's white, black, it doesn't matter. It happens. And if you don't think it's not going to happen, then you're kidding yourself, because this is going to happen. And if you want my opinion, I said, burn the motherfucker down. Honestly, truthfully, my opinion, this is me. And so I know you all have different opinion, but sometimes you got to burn the shit down in order for it to come back. Why do we burn it down? Why do we destroy our own neighborhoods? And why do we break it up? Because we're sick and tired of it, and plus insurance will cover some of this. So, for some people, but the thing is, sometimes you got to destroy the thing that you love the most so it can come back and grow in a different way. Okay. So people destroying downtown Columbus. Yeah. They screwed up my brother's restaurant. I talked to my brother and he's like, I asked him if I help. He goes, don't worry about it. It's okay. I'll take care of it. But the point was, they went down there, whoever they are, I don't know who they are, white, black, Asian, Chinese, whoever was down there, they decided they've had enough. They've had enough. They're tired. They're exhausted. They have spoken. No one's listening. Nobody is listening. That's the point. No, and I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the people who are in power. They're not listening to us. They're not educating us in the proper way, to understand that, we can get along. But that's too easy, because that's us getting in each other's faces is what they actually want to happen. They want me to hate you. They want me to dislike you. They want me to disagree with you. They want me to be in discord with everybody. And you know what? And they do a great job doing it. And I say they because it is they. It is these people who are in power, people who want to stay in power, and people who need to stay in power because they don't know any other job. They don't have another job. They don't know any other type of work except for being a politician, and manipulating the system and milking it to its deepest core and taking all the sustenance from that. And who are they taking that from? From us. They have disempowered us as human beings, as citizens of this country. Those who are lucky enough to have good jobs and do well, sometimes we don't worry so much because we're in a good situation. But there are a lot of people, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, who are not well. And the black community has been screwed over royally. And if no one sees that, I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know where you're at. But I'm not, and I'm really disappointed that this cop thought it was okay to do what he did and think he was going to get away with it. My son goes, you need to call the senator. I said, you're right, G. I'm going to call the senator. I called the senator, but just to answer machine. But I did leave a message, and I was pretty clear. I said, if you do not take care of this, and if you do not address this, Minneapolis, it's not your jurisdiction, but you can talk to your constituents and you can talk to your other senators. You're going to burn. This shit's going to burn. And you know what? If this cop is not brought to justice, and God forbid he's acquitted, because if he's acquitted, you didn't see nothing yet. Okay. And you know what? We have been able to be in quarantine. We've been able to research our lives, our past, our history, read books, They wanted us to be isolated from one another. But you know what happened? We become more empowered. We become more educated to the fact of who we are and how we fit into the society. So now we're not going to be quiet anymore. We've been quiet. Quiet has not served anybody. Quiet, being shut up and not expressing your feelings and emotions has not served anybody at any time. Okay. The United States is a very powerful country and a very young country. Okay. And they didn't get this way being nice. Okay. And being friendly. Okay. We are the only country that used any atomic weapon on other people and killed them in order to stop a war, because that was the philosophy and the thinking. And somebody said to me, well, I hope we've gotten better. Then no, we have not gotten better, because now we're sending young men and women to represent us and defend us for old man's war, for old man's gold, for old man's black gold. These are my opinions. These are my beliefs. Chris went to war and to represent, to defend our country. And I honor that and I respect that. My father was in the military. I was in ROTC. And you know what? But we're fighting other people's wars. We're fighting other people's stuff. And we're not taking care of our stuff. We're not taking care of who we are as humans and honoring each other. And so, yeah, when I say burn it down, burn it down. Burn it down, because you know what? If you don't burn it down, you know what? You're going to get the same stuff. And people will disagree with me and say, well, Iggy, you're condoning violence. I'm not condoning violence. I'm condoning breaking down the system. And the way you break down the system is by destroying the structures and the things that you don't like anymore. And what don't we like? We don't like to be abused, black, white, but blacks get it most than whites and the Hispanics. Even Hispanics don't get treated as bad as blacks do. That man, and I said it today, was executed. That was an execution on TV. That was, I'm not going to change my stance on that, because you know what? You'd have to show me, and you can't show me, that man was not executed. And I don't know who they were trying to burn that image into, but that young man, right or wrong, was executed. That was blatant execution. And you know what? And I tell you, I'm saying this, but I don't know if I was there, they probably would have kicked my ass too, because I would have jumped that cop and I would have fucking punched him in the face. Because you know what? And I'm surprised that, and I think people were really thinking about it at that time, and I could see it brewing, but that will never happen again. The next time a guy gets pinned on the ground, black, white, or whoever, if they feel there's injustice, citizens arrests will happen and they will attack the police. So they need to change their way how they handle systems. And I know some people are not good, and I get that. But in this case, what I saw and what I witnessed could have had a better outcome, and it didn't. I'm off my soapbox. Who's next? You're next. Okay, here we go. Okay, you're on.
I understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like toddlers. They will listen to you when they want to listen to you. In their mind, they're adults and they know what they want and they know how to do it, and they don't want to eat their fruits and vegetables. So you put that same toddler in a room with other toddlers. When they're at home, they're not breaking anything. But now all of a sudden, all these toddlers are together and just one toddler screams. All of them are screaming. One toddler throws something. All of them are throwing something. So I'm not calling the people toddlers. I'm just giving an example.
Sure,
they are so frustrated from not being heard. A lot of us have been treated differently far as education. Like nowadays, they don't even teach you how to read a clock because it's digital. Right. You know, everything is completely different. We had the things where we had to speak about what was going on with us. We had to articulate, I feel angry because. So that's why I'm so zen. I'm zen because I was wild and I was fighting all the time and I was in the streets and raising myself. And then I had a white teacher say, hey, I see something different in you. Let's try this. Mm-hmm. And so then I ended up working with the NAACP and learning all these different ways to kind of be calm and be a good member of society. So I completely changed. So the one you see now is the peaceful kumbaya, my Lord. However, the shoot 'em up, bang, bang is there. Mm-hmm. It's just nothing have aggravated that. I call it the black fight or flight. When we get adopted by white parents, that black fight or flight is gone. So we're more timid, we're more docile. You know, it takes a lot to kind of aggravate us or anything. But when you kind of grow up in the hood and you grow up around, you know, other black people and you got to kind of fight, you have this thing that's always ready for battle. And you can't calm down because if you're silent, you get attacked. you know, if you don't do this and you don't fight, you won't be able to eat, you know,
Right.
and it's like, it's a constant battle, and most people don't get to relax. And I was telling my husband, I'm like, to be able to just be able to play outside and be peaceful is something that I don't know. To be able to give your body freely to your spouse, I don't know what that feels like. My body has never belonged to me, it was taken. So, you know, my mom was taken away from me. I wasn't with my father. I'm walking around, there's serial killers walking around where I'm at. I've seen people get murdered. And I have been so conditioned and so, I guess, programmed that when I should have screamed and hollered and cried and got this stuff out of me after I saw somebody murdered, I just calmly got up and walked and started playing with a toy like it didn't happen. So with the protesters kind of going crazy, my brain instantly tells me, you got to shut this off to survive, because I have had to survive all of my life. And it's like sometimes when we get to sit and watch cartoons with the kids, I have more fun than them because I don't know what that innocence feels like. I have no idea. Like I couldn't even tell you. So the stuff that is triggering in me is that, hey, you know, it's just a part of life. So my body, my mind, and my spirit is completely calm because I have been desensitized to violence. You know, and it's like when Alton Coleman was here, you guys probably never heard of him. He was a Black serial killer. You know, I was walking by myself. He hands me a little coin bag and was like, "This yours?" And I was like, "No." And he gave it to me. And for some reason, he didn't kill me. I don't know why. He had Dayton completely locked down. People were petrified.
Wow.
And once I saw him on TV, it was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And like, you know, my family came from the era of the Atlanta child murders. They were killing these Black kids like flies, you know, and it's like you see it, but you're like, oh, okay. So my perspective is completely different. I have come from such chaos that seeing people shooting and killing and fighting the police, it to me is just like, oh, it's just another day in, you know, Snowville. I don't know. So my body is just naturally, it'll just shut it off. So I can't process it. And it's like, I know I should, and I should be writing some stuff down or crying or doing whatever, but just nothing but calm. Like I just don't know how to react to it at all.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. You know, for most of you don't realize that where Garcia's is, that area, that used to actually be very rough neighborhood. It used to be that was ghetto for some time. Even it was like the outskirts of the university area. I grew up in that neighborhood, and I grew up with, you know, you just all kinds of ethnic groups and different peoples, and you know, it was tough. You had to live differently. You know, I didn't have the luxury to live in a very nice neighborhood, and you had to adjust, and you had to know how to navigate the groups, man, because if you did, you're gonna get either ostracized or you're gonna be whooped on, you know. And I was pretty lucky that I was able to navigate that. They kept saying I had a big head and a small body, but I don't know what that meant. They always tease me, "You got a big head, Garcia." But yeah, but you know, I grew up in a bar. I grew up in the restaurant business, and I saw it all. I saw the mafia come in and try to intimidate my parents and have them pay money so they can protect them. I saw bikers come in. I saw gay people come in and have their banquets. I've seen it all, man. And so nothing really phases me. So, you know, and what I witnessed yesterday, and I was watching going, you know, I know these cops didn't do anything per se, you know, and I get that, but the cops are going to agitate these folks because that's usually what they just do, because they want to disperse the crowd. But they kind of knew what was going to happen. They knew that that's going to occur. When you want to disperse a crowd and the crowd doesn't want to go, you know, it happens. And when I woke up the next day and they said Columbus was rocked, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked. They were better off just let people walk down the street and scream and yell. And I guarantee you nothing would have got broken. That's my belief. I really believe that. I really believe the cops weren't present and the cops were just like doing whatever. Because I think people are just fed up. They just need to get out of the house. But since they blocked the roads and whatever, the cops had to go down and show force and pretend like, well, we're going to protect the city, you know, we're going to protect these buildings, you know. And I think if the police weren't there, I think it would have gone, people would have marched and been done. Yeah, a few things might have been broken. Either way, it got broken, right? But you know, that's my belief. That's kind of where I come from, because and my dad was to tell me, he goes, you know what, you got to fight for what's yours, because if you don't, they're going to take it from you. That's kind of how it is. And that's the way my pops was. He goes, they want our building. And he would say that these big wig rich people want my building, want our building. They want everything that we own, because they don't have it. They don't own it. And I tell you, I could tell you stories all night about my life and my brothers and sisters and my siblings, but we'd be here all night. And so being of a minority, I've had many issues. And I'll tell you one that happened just the other day. So cleaning gutters, because that's what minorities do, right? I'm on the roof cleaning gutters, and this guy pulls up in his truck, and he works for a construction company. He goes, "You're the slowest Mexican I ever seen." He goes, "Why is the white guy up on the roof?" He told me this. And John heard it, and John's like, he's like, "What'd you say?" He goes, "I'm just joking. I'm just teasing, you know." And this guy's hired us to clean his gutters. And John's like, "We're leaving." And John is my ex-brother-in-law. He's a white guy from Philly. Got down. He's like, "We're out." The guy's like, "Why are you leaving?" "Because you're an asshole and you don't know how to treat people and you're a fucking racist." That's a racist comment you just said to me. Number one, I'm not even Mexican. Nothing against Mexicans. I'm not Mexican. I'm Peruvian. Number one, you stereotype and you know, it was just a messed up situation. We packed up our stuff and we left. And I'm going to give you a bad rating on Home Advisor. Go for it, buddy. You know, I was like, but it, you know, it just, and maybe I'm bringing that into my being. I don't know, but I had to experience that again. And I haven't experienced that in a long time. And some of you guys I've spoken to in private, and I have said, I don't get a lot of shit from people. But as soon as I go out into a different world, a different space, a different energy, those kind of things pop up. You know, I like the metaphysical, holistic world because everybody's trying to do better for themselves. Everybody's trying to ascend to a different level of peace and harmony and awaken pieces and parts of themselves that need to be awakened or have to be reminded to be awakened. And so my next question is, as we move along, is how do we get better? How do we improve? Where do we go from here? How do we move forward? So I'm going to ask Krista, how do we move forward how can we amend and fix things? Is it going to be time consuming? Is it going to be something that's going to take many years, or how do we do this?
All I can say and all I can do is take care of my own corner of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, you pick up that one piece of trash, you make that one choice, you make that one decision to do your own part in your own little world, you might be able to change the rest of it. And that's all I can do is show respect to everyone in my neighborhood. All I can do is extend my heart to everyone that I meet. All I can do is be the person that I can be, that doesn't have a racial bone in my body, it's all I can do is try to instill in the kids that I come in contact with, or the people that I work with in any way, shape, or form, that it's not right. But I don't know, and that's all I can do. If I can change one person, if I can make that one person think differently, then I've accomplished something. And hopefully that next person, it's like that theory they say, if you tell one and they'll tell 10 more. If I can help one, maybe that one will help another, and down the line, that's the only thing that I know I can do. And if there's anything that anybody else can help me to understand and that I can help to do, I wish they would reach out to me and let me know.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, Sammy, We'll get you unmuted here. How can we do better?
I second that. I'd say we just put the energy of respect, gratitude, and compassion, love. Just put that in the energy field. It's gonna stick somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, we're in a this unique time of change on all levels: energetic, physical, emotional, logical. All levels are being changed. Everybody's changing at different rates and different levels and finding things out for themselves. And that's still no excuse for violence or anything like that. But some people are changing differently.
Good point.
I don't know. That's the only way I can explain it for myself.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Chris. You're up.
I'd say pretty much about the same thing. Just I try to help my grandkids understand,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how to treat people, how not to treat people,
Right.
and work from there. I guess start with hopefully the little ones can change stuff in the future.
Right.
I think a lot of the older people. Well, I consider myself in there. I'm 56 years old.
Yeah.
That if they've made it, they're not going to change. They're locked in their little small mind of how things work. If there's something catastrophic that will click them, then there's really nothing you can do for them. But hope and pray, I guess.
Right.
And put that positive energy out there.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Sherry. You're so shy.
I don't come on your videos.
That's true.
I don't know what I can do about the big picture. All I know is my job is to take care of my sweetheart's kids that are here and, try to guide them and lead them in the direction that he would want them to go. And, that's all my concern is because, they're a 23-year-old girl and a 16 and 17-year-old Black men. And, he would want me to help them. So the rest of the world, like right now on TV, they're burning down Atlanta. It's not just Minneapolis. This is going to be all over this whole entire country. That's, Vegas, they're in LA, New York, obviously Columbus. This isn't going to stop tonight. And I understand that, but my job from now on is to take care of his kids that are still left. So that's my focus. That didn't answer your question, but
no, it did actually.
Even,
you stated what you thought you needed to do, and that's where the change comes, where you need to support the children of your former lover, your person that you cared about, the person that was important to you, and instill those things into their heart, into their beliefs, to see the world differently. I get that.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Talked about this stuff for years, and I don't know the young lady's name. I don't know the young lady's name.
Willow.
Willow?
I call her Willow.
Okay. So like she said something and it touched my heart because my sweetheart used to say, he was 11 years older than me, so he was 55, and he grew up, in Zanesville, and, they didn't even run water to the Black family back then in the 80s. In the 80s, they didn't even run water to their, they won a lawsuit because they didn't want water to the Black families in the 80s. It's hard to even.
That's crazy.
But he was always on edge. He would say, "I'm angry. I was born angry." Like he'd always say this, "I was born angry." I'm like, "You don't have to be angry," but of course he did. But I didn't understand that, right?
Right.
But she said something that he would say, "I got to be on all day long, and the only moment I'm off is when he was laying on my lap." The only moment he was off is when he was home and safe. Yeah. And so it's heartbreaking for me for all different angles, so that's why I'm like, I got to keep those boys safe because I don't want them to end up in a position he is not alive, or these people, or that poor Mr. George Floyd. So it's
Very good. Thank you.
What do we do?
Appreciate you. All right, guys. Let me unmute you here real quick. Okay. There it is. I think we're clicking. You're clicking. I'm clicking.
I would start with the ungolden rule. Instead of treat people the way you want to be treated, ask them, how should I treat you? You know, I get told a lot, oh wow, you're not like what I thought Black women were like. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
And they were just saying they assume that we're all angry. They assume that we're all combative. They assume we all do this, and you know, we have 12 babies, daddies, and things like that. And I was like, no, you know, I've been married before. I had children with him. Then I met him and I had children with him. I'm not ashamed of being married and having children with my husbands. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I don't drink. Every once in a while I will. I don't smoke. I don't run around grabbing my boobs like, hey, bitch. You know, I don't act that way at all. I read books all the time, which is surprising for people. I have 2 degrees and I was working on my master's and I got tired of school. I love children. I love life. I love being around different people. I love heavy metal, which is like weird for most people, but it's like, again, instead of that golden rule, let's play with the ungolden rule. I think that's just a start. And I would love if we can do life swaps where you come and you know, shadow me all day. And then you see what I do as a Black woman.
Sure.
And you see how I love my children. You see how I love on them. Most people come here, they don't want to leave. I literally have to kick people out of the house because they said it's so peaceful here.
Yeah.
So you always have some kind of meditation music playing, sage, crystals all everywhere. Everything about me is peaceful.
Yeah.
And I'm not what people think I am. But yeah, if you get to know me, then you're like, oh, okay, wow, maybe she is human. You know, maybe she does hurt. Maybe she does have worries. You know, maybe she's not just this angry Black woman. The only time I'm ever perturbed is if somebody messed with my children.
Sure.
Then the complete lioness will come out and I'm scratching everything around. But other than that, I'm just not those stereotypes. So I think that would be a start for everyone.
Very good. What's on your mind?
Oh man.
You got that look on your face, man.
Yeah, well, you see my wheels turning.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because the question that you ask is a similar question that I ask myself like every other morning, at least, you know, every 3rd morning or 5th morning or 7th morning, you know, or 2nd, you know, the numbers kind of take turns, but it's like, what can I do to make the world safer for my babies? Sometimes I get off work and I come in there sleeping. I can see them sleeping on the floor in their little cots or whatever. And I ask myself that question, what can I do?
Right.
And, you know, so I look to what I call the infinite intelligence and the infinite power within me to make a change. And, you know, sometimes I'll hear answers, but the biggest answers, I haven't heard anything yet, but I know it'll eventually pop up. And then, to get to the point, the thing that I would probably suggest that we can do to make a change is for, you know, groups of people like us who are from different nationalities and walks of life who are able to get together, write a new piece of constitution that, you know, says that police cannot approach people in certain manners as they do, because basically the way that they, you know, approach people is pretty much a death sentence. Like, the reason why they stand behind you in a car is so, you know, they can have the tactical advantage to shoot you in the back of the head. You know, How do I know that? Well, let me explain it. I went through this much OPATA school because I was a Homeland Security officer for a while. You know, I did that job while I was going through college. And anyhow, so we learned a bunch of things about being tactical. And one of the biggest stories that I like to tell, that's a true story, but some people might not believe it when I say it, but I was taught how to shoot by Blackwater agents. Okay, the person that ran the company, he was ex-military, you know, retired, and he has a big security firm. And sometimes he'd have people in the winter come down, and they were friends of his, and they were Blackwater agents. And these guys got in all kind of trouble in the Middle East. Like one fiasco that happened on the news was, I guess it was like one of them terrorist groups didn't like them, so they hung one of their buddies over a bridge, and he was just sitting there dangling, being dead. You know, and so I don't know if they mishandled the situation that led to those people getting that upset. But anyhow, those guys had taught me how to shoot and a lot of other kind of stuff, and I learned a lot of things of what's called tools of subject control. And as like security officers, you have to be very careful how you approach somebody. There's a whole spectrum on a piece of paper it's an escalation chart. Like if it's a fist fight, what do? Do you grab your gun or your baton? And some people say, well, you grab your gun. Wrong answer. Yeah. So you could grab your baton or you could grab a pepper spray, and if it gets serious, or the taser. But there's all this stuff, these questions that you have to answer. So the way that these police approach people is like a death sentence. They're already got the gun on their hip. They're already about to shoot. So I think something needs to be written in the Constitution. We get together as a people and say, okay, write something to how people are treated fairly, and then push that to Congress and keep on pushing it, because those guys don't care about nothing. But if people are burning stuff down, we can also put that same energy into paperwork. And that sounds corny, but after all the burning of stuff down is done, they can put it in the paperwork and start pushing stuff and get it across that way. Make some noise about it. Make some YouTube channels about it. Right. Other than that, all I can say is also we could make, YouTube videos of, different nationalities kind of like just hugging each other and being cool with each other in Columbus, and spread that around the world. But that's what I could think of off the top of my head. Just start thinking of how we can change things constitutionally, and, making a big, ruckus about it on social media and pushing for change, because it needs to happen. It really needs to happen. There's a lot of stuff going on that just needs to stop. Yeah. Thank you. So I've heard different points of view, different feelings, different emotions. We all come from different backgrounds. We all live in different places in Ohio. Most of us, we're all in Ohio. So those who are on the show, that's a big question that I asked you. Even sometimes I don't even know how to answer it. But the point that Chris has said, when we start with ourselves and we empower other people to empower themselves, that's been my goal in life, is to empower others by helping them to find themselves and heal themselves. And I know my statement about burning it down may not sound empowering, but the reason I say it's empowering is because sometimes we have to destroy the structure that we see in front of us so we can move forward through it. And that's what you said. You said that we can work on paperwork and we can move into into a new direction where we're forced to communicate. In my opinion, it's a lack of communication and disconnect, where people are not able to express themselves freely and not feel judged by that expression. And that's on both sides of the fence. Okay. You have people who don't like Black people, and you have people who don't like Hispanics, and you have Black people and Hispanics don't like white people. I know Hispanics don't like white people. Goes both ways. This isn't not an isolated issue. This is a reality of the world that we don't know how to intertwine our belief systems, because we all raised different. We come from different backgrounds and cultures. Even though we're human beings, even though we're humans,
we have been raised and we have been educated, and we have traditions that we carry through our lives and things, and we have a history. We have a history, you know. You have people from different nationalities who were slaves too, who were in, you know, you have, in my country, we had slaves, you know, and the Irish were slaves, you know, different ethnic groups were slaves. And then you have indentured servants and things that we, you know, our history is why we are having these issues, because we did things so different back then, because that was the way it was done. Because, and those things get carried into the future. And then when we try to break away from it, in my country, you can hire people who live in the mountain, the indigenous people, and pay them nothing to work at your home. This is, in Peru is one of the few countries where you can still do that. That's an indentured servant. That's somebody who works and lives and you pay them nothing, basically. This exists. So I'm telling you things that still exist in present moment time. And I'm sure that in other countries this happens. And you know what? My uncle told me this. My uncle, who's an old uncle, who's in his 80s, he's now passed, but he goes, in Peru, you can hire people who, you know, he said, just frank, it was like, it was no like a big deal, and pay them nothing, and they take care of you. They wipe your ass when you're old, you know. You come to Peru, they take care of you. You have two ladies take care of you, and you know, like, not like nursing homes here. But this is the stuff that I'm talking about. This is why we can't move forward, because we still have some of this old parochial crap, okay, that still exists today. We still have that racist mentality that we're better than you. In my country, they're called cholos. Cholos people who are indigenous people, okay? And they don't get treated well. And the reason they come down to the cities because they're looking for opportunities and jobs, and people treat them like crap. And, you know, this still exists today in my country where I come from. And, you know, it's something that's going to take some time, and we have to do it little by little. If we think we're going to chew it off on one big chunk, we're not. But I'd say right now, people are really fed up. Okay, because they see the world, they expected the world to be different. Not because we came out of COVID, not because we came out of the COVID crisis. No, people are expecting the world to be different. You know, we expect to be better. And it just proves to us that we're still not getting it. We're still not there. We're still lacking some empathy for other people in differences. And you know what? It's learned behavior. Some things are taught, some things are, you know, and some things are just ingrained in some people's system. And, you know, as hard as that sounds, there's some folks, and you know them all, you all know somebody like this, who are just, they have something in there that you can't understand why they behave the way they do. And then other things are learned. Because I've seen it on both sides. I've seen it. Now, politically, I hope that the politicians, the president, and everybody up and down, all around, left and right, are watching. I hope that they're paying attention, because they are just as much responsible for a lot of the things that are happening today, because they have our interest at hand. They represent us. And since they took that representation away from us and made it their own, okay, is the reason why we have a lot of these issues, because they don't represent us. They represent corporations, they represent things and other entities that pay them more. We are the facts, though. We're just the people. But the people are speaking right now. The people have spoken. The people have woken. They say, hey, you know what? We're done. I'm sorry. You don't represent me properly. And you know what? We're going to burn this shit down. Because if people were represented properly, this is my belief, then we wouldn't have a lot of these problems. We would communicate much differently. But since these folks, I ran for office, so I got a good taste of what it was like. And you know what? And I understand why all this shit's happening, because their interest is not our interest. The only interest that they have, politicians, and this is how I feel, this is my belief, is that they want to keep their job and they want to be able to fill the coffers at our expense. And they know that the first people that usually go in a revolution, the first people who are eliminated, are the politicians. That's why they want to disempower us. They want to take away our guns. They want to take away our freedoms and our rights and tell us what we need to do. Stay home because you'll die. But you know what? No one gives a shit right now of staying home because everybody's out there saying, hey, you know what? We're done. We're done. Mask, no mask, I don't care. Remember when it was a felony to go in the bank with a mask? You couldn't go in the bank. And now we walk in the bank and hey, what's up? It's funny. So I'm going to give everybody a really quick, everybody just kind of give me a quick, what you want to leave with everybody and what you felt this show did for you today. Okay. So we're going to start with you, Sammy. You were sleeping, man. What happened? No, I'm serious.
No. I guess since I've been at work all week and I really haven't watched any of this, I think it's just brought some things to light for me. Mm-hmm. And listening to your friends talk about how their lives are compared to, for instance, my life, how my neighborhood is different than their neighborhood.
Sure.
I don't remember the name, so I apologize for that. But mm-hmm. Seeing that different perspective is eye opening for me. Even though I grew up next door to a black family, mm-hmm. but it was all predominantly white. So that brought a new perspective to my mind, to my eyes, and my awareness.
And that's what we wanted to accomplish today, didn't we?
Yep.
This town hall. Thank you, Sammy. Appreciate it. All right. I'll mute here. All right. Hold on a second. Okay. You're unmuted. So introduce yourselves, everybody, because I don't think I introduced you.
Well, my government name is Tierra Cooper.
Okay.
But my author name is Lady Willow. Most people call me Willow. It's just a spiritual name. Mm-hmm. Took me like 10 years to get, so I have it right here. And you can call me whatever. So my family calls me Nikki. Go figure.
Hey, you sound like
Prince,
my life.
Darling Nikki. So I get that joke all the time.
Cool.
Well, I would love to leave with people and really let it sink in. Mm-hmm. Is having a caste system destroys everything. Mm-hmm. Once you put anything above something else, then there's wars and there's like disagreements, and it just doesn't make any sense. We as people of color mm-hmm. don't walk around with knives and guns and ready to shoot and rob people. It's usually not on our minds. Mm-hmm. Every Black person I know is educated. Most of them were married. My parents were married. My grandparents were married. My great-grandparents were married. Nobody really believes that about us. They just all think we're all fatherless and things like that. And that's not true. My father is retired from the military. Mm-hmm. My brother is retired from the military. My father invented all these things for the VA, for prosthetics. Very intelligent. He was in the Army at 16 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's like, get to know us. Sure. Ask a question. We don't swing from trees like baboons. You know what I mean? Not unless I'm climbing a tree. If I'm climbing a tree, of course I'm gonna dangle from it. You know what I mean? But usually I'm hugging trees. I'm not dangling from them, and yeah. I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I'm a joker. I can't help it. But I don't get on the floor and eat off the ground and suck up ants or anything crazy. Just ask me and get to know me, and don't come with a prejudgment of what you think I am, because I will never fit in any type of box. I am too great for a box. I think too much outside of the box because I don't want to be placed in anything, but just please ask me. And I am very open. I don't hide anything. Period. You ask me and I will tell you. But that's it.
So my name is Abedi Chukwu. It's an Igbo African name. My mom lived in Africa for a while before I was born, so that's how I got the name. When she got pregnant with me, she wanted to give me that name to connect me with the ancestors. Kind of like I explained the pronunciation of my name. It's kind of like you're picking up a berry and you're chewing on it. A berry chew, and then the last vowel is Ku, KWU. Ku. I berry chew. Ku. Yeah, I pretty much like what she said, and on top of that, I would just say, if you all have any other friends, that have similar or even different perspectives, to just start opening up a dialogue with them, and to show them that not all prejudices are correct. And saying open up a dialogue is like something one of my favorite professors used to say at Antioch. We both went to Antioch Midwest, and we had one of our teachers. His name was, I think, Jim, and he kind of reminded me of an older Murphy off of RoboCop.
Yeah.
When he took his helmet off, he just kind of had that face, but older, much older Murphy, like in his 70s maybe. But he always used to say, after he talked about ancient civilization, he said, I want to open up a dialogue with the class, because in Antioch, we didn't have to take tests. What we had to do was listen to a lecture and then read a book or 2 books or 3 books.
About 20 of them.
Yeah, you read 100 of them when you were done, but every week you had 2 or 3 books to read, and then you had to come back to that lecture, and they wanted to see what you are able to expound upon. And what kind of understanding that you get from the books, because Antioch was based on thinking. So I think it would be effective to open up a dialogue with people on a positive note and say, hey, these people are not what you think. And this is not what you think. And I want to say that because to open everybody's eyes to a different form of racism, as Black people, we just don't have to deal with racism from white people. We deal with something called colorism, which is even more hurtful. And, somebody might say, well, he's stupid for saying it's more hurtful. That brother just died. He had a pain. Yeah, they'd be right. But colorism is deep, because we have hate groups on YouTube. Black women against Black men against Black women. And they say the most vehement, anathema-filled, venomous comments and arguments that they can make why the other one is subhuman. And so sometimes I feel like, because the Black men and Black women that are against each other are both idiots, and I understand that they're coming from places of pain, but a lot of the stuff that they say are unfounded, and they get thousands of followers to jump onto it. Sometimes I feel the stuff that is said is part of the causes of why these cops kill us.
Okay.
Especially the Black women that hate Black men. And this is not me saying, anything against Black women in general, because of course my wife is Black. I want to make that clear.
Right.
But the Black women that hate Black men, they marry white men of power. And they say the most shocking things, and the husbands do not stop them when they don't check them. They don't. Wow. And so they get so many followers and say such things like, let me throw some names out. Crystal and Karazin is one of them. There's a woman who I kind of listen to and don't agree with all the time, but sometimes she goes back and forth to me between making a general statement and a specific one, and it irks me. Her name is Paris. You look these people up and listen to them, your stomachs might get sick and shocked at the same time. But the reason they're able to be so effective, my whole point is because they can open up a dialogue.
Interesting.
And push crap through a screen or through a phone or through earbuds. If we were able to open up a dialogue with people and you show them positive stuff, that would cause people to have some, what do you call it, critical thinking moments, maybe some aha moments.
Right.
Boom, and just change things, because I think we have so many stereotypes of each other in America because people don't have dialogue. You walk by somebody every day, you don't have dialogue with them.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't.
Right.
And so we live in ignorance because we don't know the other person. We don't. So, just like my wife, before she met me, she was afraid to get out in the black neighborhood, So afterwards, now she'll do it, but that took a while to have a dialogue.
It's interesting.
And then, so dialogue, we can have dialogue. I think dialogue, the right kind of dialogues can change things because leaders make great speeches before they change history. Mm-hmm. So if you say the right things, can you not change reality?
Yeah. Very good point. And I appreciate you coming on to give us a different perspective too, because, it's like Sammy said, we learned something today, and this dialogue that we opened today is about learning each other and learning our feelings, our emotions, and the things that we like and dislike, and the things that we love. They're pretty much are kind of very similar when you start to start moving things around a little bit. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you. All right, Chris, you're up, my friend.
Well, actually, the biggest thing I probably took away tonight, or I'd like to leave with, I don't know who's out there watching, but
the world.
I feel very privileged to not have gone through some of the things that you have gone through, or the other couple has gone through. And I have so many friends that are so disenchanted, or I don't know, angry at just different things. It's like, you people have nothing to be angry about. It's just silly, trivial shit compared to real shit that's going on. So I would just hope that someone would take away that, look, pick your stuff. It's not, pick the big stuff. Not the little trivial, oh my God, someone did this or someone did that. It's like, no, you got to listen to other people and their stories and the things they go through.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right, Chris. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, Krista.
Well, first thing, Sherry, darling, you got my heart. I love you, sweetie. Miss you. I got two things. You talked about burning things down. All I see is a phoenix. It's all I can see. That's the only word I have for that. And the only other thing I can say is I said it on your show, and I'll say it again. There's a storm coming, and I think it's here. Yeah. And we're going to have to ride it out, and we're going to have to take as many people up as we can. And I think everyone here knows exactly what I'm talking about. So peace and love to all of you.
All right. Thank you. All right, Sherry, you're up. She's funny.
I hate talking, but thank you, Miss Chris. I don't know what I have to say, so I don't really have anything. I don't know.
Okay. That's cool. We'll take that.
My brain is tapped out today.
All right.
It's just been a lot. This whole week's been a lot, but
very good. Very good.
Sorry.
So I want to thank everybody here on this little panel that we created together, this opportunity to share. And hopefully you guys can communicate and connect with one another if you're not connected, friend each other. So you can keep this dialogue going, because this is how we improve. This is how we become better. Because right now we're borrowing things from our children and our grandchildren. Everything's on loan to us that belongs to them. So hopefully we teach them the right things, and hopefully we are giving them the right direction. Even if you don't have children, by also helping other people see the potential that they have inside themselves. Because inside of us is a plethora of knowledge and feelings, emotions that needs to be expressed. And we can't express it properly, then we burn it down, then we have to rebuild it. And you're right, Krista, it is like a phoenix. You tear it down, you burn it, eventually you have to rebuild it. And you folks down here also said that, sometimes we have to come into dialogue and talk and communicate. Sammy said that, he learned something today, by getting a perspective from a different, ethnic group you know, and a different group of people's life, my life, your life, each other's lives. Sherry talked about, you know, helping the children getting better and to do better and to help them see the world in a better light. And Chris has, you know, brought up the point, you know, that sometimes we have to see the world a little differently. You know, sometimes we're stuck in our own old patterns and we have to break from that. Some of our friends are not bad people. They just don't sometimes see the things the way they are, and that the problems aren't necessarily the way they are. That doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just what they feel. I think we've come together today and shared our feelings, emotions, and things inside of us. And I think we express ourselves in a respectful way. I don't think anybody went crazy and said, "Rah, rah," except for me. But you know, that's just me. You know me. I get kind of wild sometimes, but that's good that we came together and we shared, and you know, and the right people showed up today, and that's what is important, that the right people showed up today to express and share, because sometimes other people just want to be observers and watch, and that's how they learn and that's how they connect. And there are other groups of people who will get into the forefront and share and speak when it's time and when it's appropriate. And today, this panel is representative of many different cultures and many different belief systems and economic groups as well. You know, we all come from different backgrounds, you know, different, you know, belief systems. And so today I think we accomplished something very powerful, something very magical that none of us probably thought we would do. You know, today was kind of like, hey, Iggy's got a show. Yeah, we'll just pop on. But town halls are for us to express, share, and to be able to grow. And that's what I hope we get to. We learned something today, that we grew today, that we took one step further to making this a better world, not just a better country, a better world, a better place for ourselves, so, and for our children and for other people's children, and to be the example and to share. And so I'm very grateful and I'm very blessed to have you all in my life, and you all bring different dynamics to my world, which makes my world and improves my world. You know, if everybody was like me, it'd be a crazy world. I don't know if I'd like it, but to have all this nice little rainbow of colors of people is amazing. Friends are like rainbows, you know, we all shine and we all glow in our own personal ways. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for being with me and taking this time out of your busy schedules and your lives to share with the world, because this is heard worldwide, and to share with the world. And some aliens is being broadcast out into the universe or listening to our conversation. We may be the ones that change the world. We may be the ones that, you know, that message gets out there, and like, human beings are actually good people, they say, you know. And we met some people on YouTube, on Zoom today. You know, where this message goes, we don't know. We don't know what we've created here. Just by communicating and talking, we've opened up windows of possibilities. And these windows of possibilities are like ripples in the, you know, when you throw a stone and the ripple keeps going wider and wider, eventually the ripples do stop. But when they stop, the calmness comes and the peace comes and the tranquility and the zenful moment comes, where we can actually rest. We don't have to worry about the ripples because we've helped create it. So you've all helped create ripples in the universe, ripples in time, ripples in the hearts of others. You know, people have posted since we are on our chat and saying some very powerful things about what we've talked about. So at least once a month we'll do a town hall, and you're all welcome to join me at any time. Invite your friends. And so I want to say to everybody listening, I hope that you enjoyed our show today with Insights Radio, Iggy Garcia Live, the Naked Shaman. We got kind of raw today. We got naked, we got exposed, and we expressed things, and we let the world know how we're at, what we're feeling. Okay, so for those of you who didn't catch the show, just play from the beginning and watch it, because I think you will be thoroughly enjoyable and thoroughly heartfelt, and you're going to get something out of this. Each one of you, thank you very much for being here with me. I want you guys to just say with me, it's good to be here. Let me unlock everybody here real quick, because we're going to say it together, okay? Because that's what we're about. It's good to be here, right? I think everybody's unmuted, right? Did I mute everybody? Oh, all right.
Must. One more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? You guys ready?
Yep.
It's good to be
Good to be
here. All right. So peace and love, guys. Ho'oponopono, much love. Irisikwi. Matakuyasin. Namaste. And we will see everybody next time on Iggy Garcia Live.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Kisses and loves and hugs to everybody. Make it a better world, okay? And I'll see you soon. Be well.
Bye, baby.
Bye-bye.